Let's talk about off-season headlines. So now the season is complete. We have a world champion. Contracts are expiring. There are already rumors out there. There are already moves out there. If there are any names or any teams that you would like to discuss, I'm opening the floor to Twitch chat for the next few minutes as we round out the show here on Wake Up Worlds. What team shall we talk about? What shall we think? What do we think will happen as we move to 2021? Already I see from Josh Ski 10, TSM mid. The obvious answer is the team is going to be renamed TCM, as in Team Chovy Mid. Dare I say anything else? I did that for dramatic effect, by the way. Team Chovy Mid. Buy your TCM shirts now. G2 is popping up a lot. What's going to happen with G2? That is probably my biggest question in the offseason. I truly wonder what's going to happen with G2. We'll get back to TSM, Daniels. I promise. We'll get back to TSM in a minute. But what is going to happen with Perkz and Caps? Who's going to want to play mid? Who's going to play AD carry? Are they both going to play on this team next year? Is one of them going to be gone? Are both going to be gone? The one thing I wonder about, and this is maybe an angle that isn't necessarily being discussed right now, will Perkz play? And the reason I say this is if you look back at his last 2 years, it feels like he has had this cloud of stress and anxiety around him. Now, obviously, I haven't asked him this question, and I'm not saying that there's anything there. I just feel like maybe he appears might be a strong word. I wonder if he feels burnt out. That's what I want to say. I wonder if he feels burnt out. And actually, Double Stick Say in chat says it is likely he might take a year break. And honestly, if I was Perkz, if you watch the G2 documentary from 2019, one of the last scenes from the Worlds documentary they did, it's a great documentary. You should check it out on YouTube after you watch this on their G2 channel if you haven't seen it. One of the last scenes is the team in the hotel before they go to play FPX. And Perkz has this moment where he kind of looks at the camera and he's like, I'm just happy to go back to being a human being again. Like, it was a very introspective moment. It was like, I'm just happy to feel human again. You know what? If we win, we're champions, awesome. But if we lose, I'm okay with that too, because I get to feel human again. I get to be human again. And you hear something like that and you're like, wow, like there's definitely, like he is definitely thinking about this, or there's some weight there. And then this year, of course, you know, knock on wood, the unfortunate tragedy with his father and him having to carry that around, and even taking a break to go back to Croatia to be with his family when it happened during the summer split, and coming back and trying to perform at that level that people expect you to perform, and the expectations that are there with G2 as well, how lofty they are, especially having made Worlds Final the year before. And then you go into a world semifinal against a team that wants your head on a stake because you eliminated them last year. And so that motivation is there. Like, it's just like for if I were Perkz or any fan of Perkz, you would definitely excuse or understand if he wants to take a year off, if that is the case. I haven't heard anything, but if that's the case, so be it. Worry about yourself, right? You got to worry about your own mental. You got to worry about your own health. And if he can't perform, if he feels like he can't perform at a certain level that would be befitting of the team and also for his own sake, I don't see any problem with that. Now, if that does happen, what happens to G2? Do they look at, they will certainly have to look elsewhere. Do they keep it within the LEC? Do they look to Asian teams? This is why it's very interesting to me. And I wonder if even the conversations are already had. Like, what if the situation exists that they do stay? Caps and Perkz do stay. Are they going to have another comment? They already did 2 swaps this year on top of the swaps they did previously, right? So who will play where? Just very. I find G2 to be a fascinating case study and team to watch going into free agency. TSM. Oh, TSM. What will happen with TSM? So let me pull up there. So obviously Bjergsen retires, and we did a whole conversation that actually broke live on a previous episode of Wake Up Worlds. And Tyler and I talked about it at length. And if you want to see, by the way, if you want to see his genuine reaction to Bjergsen retiring, he didn't know. I broke the news to him live on the show. He had no idea. And if you want to see that reaction, it's on our YouTube channel. Definitely go and find it. It's like you could see it just like swirling in his head, building like, no, like it's a crazy reaction. But then we talk about it at length. What does this mean for TSM? Bjergsen's legacy. Why now? And look, not to pat myself on the back, but I was one of the only people to mention that this could even be a possibility. And the reason I said that, though, was because Bjergsen had been in the league for, 7 years, 8 years at this point? And he's had his domestic championships. And then coming off an 0-6 performance at Worlds that people were lambasting. Yeah, sure. Like to Tyler's point, Tyler mentioned, look, I don't think he wants to go out like that. But to me, he's already set for life. He's an equity owner in TSM. So he's not necessarily thinking he's not worried about his future. He could be at TSM for life in any capacity he wants. And now we know it's going to be as a coach for the foreseeable future. But he could do whatever he wants with TSM. TSM literally have handed him the keys. He is a part owner of the company. And so that means that he could stick around, do whatever he wants. The only way that he would leave TSM is if he wanted to leave TSM. And if you're a part owner, why would you want to leave TSM? Because you own equity. It's valuable. So for Bjergsen, good for him. I'm happy that he was able to retire on his terms. I know that he is a very competitive person. I spoke with him after they won the LCS Summer Split, and he said, I haven't been this motivated to play League of Legends competitively in years. He didn't really give any indication that he wanted to retire at that point. But certainly it had to be in his mind. It had to be. So now they're in a situation where he's gone. And looking at contracts, the only other contract, honestly, that's up is Treats, who is we've seen him at parts of the LCS Summer. But Biofrost, for all intents and purposes, with Doublelift, the veteran presence in the bot lane, sounds like it will stay. I mean, Doublelift did tweet when Bjergsen retired that he thought about retirement as well, but it doesn't sound like he actually is retirement. So, he actually is retiring, pardon me. So, assume that the bot lane sticks around. I don't see that bot lane unless Doublelift and Biofrost want to leave. But Doublelift's contract ends in 2021 and Biofrost's contract ends in 2022. So, I don't see them wanting to leave. Then you look at Spica, who I will say, I believe that there is a lot of upside to Spica, especially in the LCS. I thought that he was at his best, one of the better junglers in the LCS in the Summer Split. I think that the meta at Worlds maybe wasn't the best for him at that point in his career. I think that many people would say that. I don't take it as a negative per se. I think that he has a lot of development, and I don't think that jungle is necessarily the concern for TSM. What happens with top lane? So TSM have an opportunity now to... Broken Blade his contract ends in 2021. If he sticks around, either way, that mid lane position, you can import a mid laner, you can bring in a domestic mid laner. You have 2 slots open, essentially, if you keep Broken Blade even and the rest of the team intact. All of them are residents anyway, so you could bring in a mid laner. So who would that be? What mid laners are available? Obviously, we're memeing Chovy, right? Because it's the fun thing to do, and I love riling up Tyler with it, because Chovy's his guy, the Church of Chovy, and Tyler's essentially the evangelist. But realistically, Tyler's right. Chovy's probably going to stay in the LPL. He'd probably get a comparable offer. He's a $1 million per year guy, like plus millions per year guy, right? So he will command that salary in any region, especially the LPL, and he will have a better chance. And this is not me talking out of school. We all know this. He's going to have a better chance to win in the LPL than he is in the LCS. So unless it's an exorbitant amount of money and Chovy cares about grabbing the bag or the largest amount of money he can, I don't see him coming to the LCS. As interesting as it would be, and as much as conversations have been had in the past, and I'm certain that teams are talking, certain. But at the end of the day, I feel like the likely move is that Chovy goes to China.